In line with this saying and the need to prepare the broadcasting sector for digital terrestrial television, we will, during the financial year, finalize the audio-visual content development strategy. The strategy, amongst others, proposes the establishment of content generation hubs in rural provinces. We will also finalize the strategy during the second quarter of this financial year. Honorable Chairperson, state-owned companies are the delivery arms of the department. We commit to ensure that all entities in our stable deliver value to the public as per the founding legislations. For the financial year 2015-16, 1.281 billion has been allocated to Vote 3, of which 70.7 million, 6% of the total budget, is to cover operational expenses of DOC, and 1.21 billion, 94%, is allocated to state-owned entities and the GCIS to carry out their various mandates. The Government Communication and Information System is a primary department for information about government and the services it provides to the people. The GCIS continues to professionalize the communication system by building a reliable knowledge base, enhancing communication products. This year, GCIS will intensify its training of communicators to strengthen strategic government communication in its provincial and local government. Executive Mayor Ms. Mukutwana of the Waterberg District Municipality and the Councillors Simon Matebula from Ward 17 in Malamulele Municipality are here with us. Honorable Councillors will start in your respective municipalities. The GCIS is entrusted with leading the implementation of the Cabinet-approved National Communication Strategy, a far-reaching initiative to energize and focus communication output in government. In addition to this, we have assigned GCIS the responsibility of amplifying our communication effort in partnership with the state-owned entities Communicators Association, the structure which we launched as a department in November 2014. In growing the voice of government communication, GCIS will produce a range of growing communication platforms and products that carry information on government programs and projects that contribute to an informed citizenry, which is key requirement for the National Development Plan. This includes the Media Landscape Book, which monitors media transformation, the weekly electronic newsletter, My District Today, which shares information from the coalface of service delivery to government, organized labor, business, civil society formation, and faith group in the media. GCIS will produce 20.4 million copies of our flagship newspaper, Vukuzenzele, and ensure that it's available in all parts of the country in all official languages. From 1 August 2015, Vukuzenzele will carry advertisement of positions in government. We have also launched a mobile application in this regard. GCIS has been allocated 365.5 million and has, for the support of the work, its work. We will continue to support the work of the GCIS to ensure that all citizens are informed about the government programs and projects. We will also continue to motivate for additional financial resources to support the important work of communicating government's record of service delivery to our people. This will also include the amount allocated for the GCIS for compensation of employees and services. The GCIS has significant strides in implementing development communication through direct and mediated communication through the Izimbizo program of government.
Order, honorable members. Order, Minister. Order, honorable members. Can we please not dialogue across? Honorable member of the DA? Can we please not dialogue across? Can we please allow the minister to present? Maybe when you need a tete-a-tete, you can go outside and have some conversation. For now, let's just allow the speakers to be heard. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable minister, you may proceed.
Thank you, honorable chairperson. I was still saying that the GCIS has made significant strides in implementing the development communication through direct, and mediated communication through the Izimbizo program of government. This work is premised on the communication research, which ensures that government messages reach the majority of South Africans. Solid progress has also been made in cluster communication system, that is the backbone in driving government information program, including the fostering of sound stakeholder relationship and partnership. We celebrate the fact that the South African Broadcasting Corporation is in a sound financial state and has a cash and cash equivalent balance of 1.02 billion at the end of the 2014-15 financial year. We thank the board and management of the corporation for turning the tide, and we hope that it will grow from strength to strength. I'm happy to inform this House that the SAB has issued its 9th request for proposal book on local content amounting to 600 million, surpassing the previous one, which was over 100 million, making it the biggest request for proposal book issued by the SABC for local content to date. We have stabilized the management of the corporation by filling the position of the Chief Operation Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Head of News, and other executives. I'm happy to inform the House that more than 50% of the executive committee members are women, which is the first in the history of the SABC. The SABC is on the move. On the 11th of May 2015, we launched an entertainment channel, the SABC Anchor, on DSTV channel 156, making it the 5th television channel under the SABC. From this coming Friday, the 22nd of May, the SABC News channel will broadcast to the entire African continent. This channel is a model of what the SABC will offer to its customer in the new digital environment. We say well done to the SABC, well done. Government continues to support the SABC to discharge its public broadcasting service mandate. During this financial year, 173 million from the department's budget has been allocated to the corporation, of which 49.6 million has been allocated towards the operation of Channel Africa. Furthermore, we will, during this financial year, develop a funding model for the SABC. We know that there's a need to fund the SABC to make sure that it fulfills its public service mandate. We will also continue to work towards strengthening the capacity of our regulator to deliver on its mandate. ICASA has now streamlined its strategic goals to 4 from 8. This is a sign of a regulator which is focused on its mandate. An amount of 393.6 million has been allocated to ICASA during the financial year 2015-16. This amount will be used, amongst others, to ensure that local content regulations are finalized and the implementation of an efficient radio frequency spectrum management system is concluded. In order to address the lack of access to media by rural and historical disadvantaged communities and individuals, 22.6 million is allocated in the Media Development and Diversity Agency. The MDDA will, during this year, prioritize clearing the backlog of projects that are either no longer in existence or have struggled to account for their support and still require assistance. The MDDA will place emphasis on strengthening existing projects while finding new projects. In line with our mandate to brand the country locally and internationally, 173 million has been allocated to brand South Africa. I've had discussion with the Board of Trustees of Brand South Africa to focus its work on improving its domestic presence by implementing more initiatives domestically, develop and implement initiatives aimed at branding the country in the African continent, develop structural programs of engagement with national, provincial, and national sphere of government in order to ensure alignment and coherence of the initiatives, and brand the country abroad. During this financial year, with Brand SA will also launch an annual branding summit for South Africa. The summit will bring together 3 spheres of government, private sector, and civil society under one roof with a view to agree on a broad program of action on how to brand the country. We invite the communication industry, of which most of you are here today, to partner with us in this endeavor. The Films and Publication Board performs an important and critical role of regulating the production, possession, and distribution of films, games, and publication, including the protection of children against harmful online content. In this regard, 82.4 million has been allocated to the Films and Publication Board during the 2015-16 financial year. The money will be used, amongst others, to increase the entity's visibility through the implementation of cyberspace outreach program to protect children against harmful content. Honorable Chairperson, we'll also plan to table 5 bills. That is the Broadcasting Amendment Bill, Films and Publication Amendment Bill, the ICASA Amendment Bill, Media Development Diversity Amendment Bill, and Brand SA Bill to Parliament. In conclusion, I would like to thank the Deputy Minister, Mr. Landaweni Abrahams, and Portfolio Committee on Communication for the role they have played in the finalization of the strategic plan and the continued support as we put forth our documents within the parliamentary process. To my 2 acting DGs, I thank you sincerely. You have been a beacon of strength and courage. You demonstrated strategic leadership not only to the department, but also to the sector as a whole. Lastly, I want to thank my family and staff of the department for the support. And then, Chairperson, it's my privilege at this moment to table the Department of Communication budget vote to the House. I thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. Thank you, honorable minister. Order, honorable members. I'm sure a lot of you, with your speakers list, can I advise you on some changes? Because Honorable Carter, who's also participating here, will participate in another debate. She will actually follow number 8, the NFP, so that you are not surprised when you see her coming up. Honorable Moloi Morupa.
That was Communications Minister, of course, Faith Muthambi. And of course, she was briefing Parliament on her department's 3rd budget vote. She did mention these key points during her presentation. She says that the DTT remains their flagship project as the Communications Department, and that they also hope to meet the next deadline, which is July 2015, for the launch of the digital migration, and that they also hope to finalize the cross-border memorandum addressing cross-border interference as well as the availability of set-top boxes. They're also looking at finalizing the review of the broadcasting regulations, and they are busy with finalizing the online content regulations to ensure that children are safe from illicit content. They also aim to provide additional supports to government projects to better fast-track service delivery. And she also recommended great strides that have been achieved by the SABC, like the introduction of the new channel, that's SABC Encore, and also the filling of the outstanding positions, which were mostly filled by women. We'll have more news after this break. Do stay with us. All right, we will go back to the briefing in Parliament.
Communication and telecommunications and postal services. Equally, the Portfolio Committee in Parliament had to restructure accordingly to have communications and the telecommunications and postal services. Last year's budget vote was a joint session by the 2 portfolio committees, which took place under Communication Budget Vote 27 and the GCIS Budget Vote 9. Now, the department has its own budget vote, and it is therefore an honor, Honorable Chairperson, to stand in support of the first budget vote of the newly constituted Department of Communications. The new Department of Communications took over the following entities: Films and Publications Board, which was housed under the Department of Home Affairs. It's now in Communications. Brand South Africa, Media Development and Diversity Agency, that is MDDA, and Government Communications and Information Systems, GCIS, would know that MDDA was reporting to GCIS, and they were all GCIS and the Brand South Africa were in the presidency. The South African Broadcasting Corporation, which is SABC, and the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, ICASA, are the entities more familiar with this home, as they were always housed under communications. After 20 years of the democratic dispensation, it became appropriate for government to closely take stock of and measure the transformation agenda pertaining to communication sector, with all these entities being under one umbrella. We need to remain mindful that the department plays an important role in implementing outcome 14, which is nation building and social cohesion. Minister Muthambi has to be congratulated for working tirelessly in establishing and stabilizing the department, while at the same time she properly aligned the entities that reported to her portfolio. I normally say if there was no department, we wouldn't have the basis to work as the portfolio committee. Now the department is there, it's available, and we really want to thank you that we've got something to oversee as the portfolio committee. House Chairperson, apartheid excluded majority of South Africans from accessing communication services, so fundamental to development. This committee has a key role in ensuring the self-perpetuating impact of apartheid is halted, and all South Africans must have affordable access to all communication platforms, are able to receive and disseminate information and opinion freely and affordably, are able to make their voices heard in national debates, and are able to do so in the languages of their own choice. Ke ka lebaka lena he modulasetulo hore re le committee ena ya communications re bonang MDDA e tlamehang ho nka lehato le leholo ho kwala sekgeo seno se hlwelehileng ho tsa setekniki, which is technology. E bang re ikemiseditse kapa hona ho ikemisetsa hore bohle setjhabeng ba kgemele dinako, mosebetsi o bonahala o le moholo o e le ka nnete. Hona jwale. Ha jwale modulasetulo, batswadi ba utlwa fela bana ba bua ka di WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, jwalo jwalo. Empa bona ba sa tsebe hore e ka ba ke eng tsona ntho tseno. Re a tlameha ho tsamaisana mmoho le setjhaba, re ba tshedise noka ena. Ka ho bua jwalo, ke hlalosa hore MDDA e tlamehile ho ba maemong a hodimo ho finyella setjhaba ka thuto ya tsena tsohle. Motsotsong wa jwale, MDDA e bonahala e imelwa ke maoto, mme he ba tla hloleha ho nka ka sekaja. Letona Muthambi o tlamehile he ho thusa komiti ena ka ho hleka lelapa leno. Jwalo ka tlhapi, re tla kopa hore o folofele leraha ka ha metsi a btshile mme le wena wa bona hle. Maloko a mararo a lefapha le ka hodimo ko report members atla hatiswa ke ntlo ya Palamente ha e dula haufinyana. When the minister and all entities presented to the portfolio committee their annual performance plans, an indication was made that various policy amendments will be submitted to Parliament. We are eagerly awaiting that task and will ensure sufficient support to the department as part of our responsibility and mandate. It is important that the committee prioritizes these legislation amendments as a step towards streamlining the work of the department. Firstly, these legislative amendments are intended to enable the work of the department by untangling legislative bottlenecks necessitated by the realignment of government. Secondly, and more importantly, it is so that the department can develop enabling policies that can stimulate a robust, vibrant, and competitive communication sector in line with the developmental state agenda of the governing party, as outlined in the NDP and the outcome-oriented priorities. I would like to highlight a few imperatives emanating from the medium-term expenditure framework process. During our oversight visit, the SABC was highlighted as a priority program that required particular attention. As members of this committee, we recognize the importance, the value, and the permanent role the public broadcaster has to play, particularly in the new democratic dispensation. Because of its importance, ample time is set aside by the committee in order to afford SABC a thorough oversight exercise in the forthcoming terms. We are committed to ensuring that SABC becomes the public broadcaster it is meant to be. Honourable Chairperson, the SABC's legislative and policy framework that has to be very clear on its role and those of its oversight structures, particularly in the unfolding digital environment. The functions of ICASA has to remain an essential constitutional independent mechanism for the achievement of universal, affordable access to broadcasting and telecommunication services. This should remain so even under the new digital environment. I commend the outgoing chairperson of council, that is Dr. Stephen Mncube, who's here behind me. He played a critical role. In the critical role he played for bringing the regulator to ICASA as it currently stands. Thank you very much, Dr. Mncube. We will remember you with that. The ideal of the developmental state as articulated in the 2007 Strategy and Tactics of the African National Congress is dependent on the capacity of the state to intervene in the economy in the interest of sustainable development in particular. It is clear, honourable members, that ICASA as a regulator has to be structured in a manner that does not inhibit it from meeting its mandate. It is important that ICASA introduces new and practical regulatory approaches that allow it to keep pace with the evolution of the technological environment it must regulate. We remain committed to support ICASA to evolve in order to handle the unprecedented challenges that go beyond the original regulatory scope, while ensuring that all sections of our society benefit from the digitization and have affordable access to ICT. A range of factors have caused South Africa to fall behind the digital migration schedule set in 2008. Since we are heading towards the deadline, which the Minister has outlined that it won't be met, we need to ensure that we make up for the lost time and complete the digital migration process with all due speed. We need to catch up and reclaim our status as the most digitally advanced country in Africa and to limit the negative growth and developmental consequences. We can do this by rapidly introducing a comprehensive high-speed broadband communication network. It has a potential to contribute to the economic growth and development while contributing to a better life for all South Africans. Within the communication sector itself, the impact of digital migration will be equally dramatic, with literally dozens of new television channels and over-the-time radio stations as well. Both will make possible and easier to meet the statutory objectives of broadcasting sector, ensuring a diverse range of content is available to different audiences in all languages. Chairperson, it is important that we acknowledge that the pace of transformation of the media in South Africa is very slow. The policies of the governing party in this House do respect the need for editorial independence in South Africa's media and recognize that media is not bound to report on or agree with everything our government does and says. But they also recognize the need for diversity of opinion and perspective required in our media, whether print, broadcast, or internet-based. We need to embark on a national dialogue to achieve a diversity of media perspective that accurately reflects the diversity of the views of our society and ensure that events and processes are accurately, reliably, and fully reported and available on platforms affordable to all South Africans. GCIS must be strengthened so that it becomes the leader that conveys a positive, honest, accurate and reliable message of government programs. In the light of the current changes, GCIS is now a Schedule 1 department headed by the Department of Communications, where there is a Director General as well. We will be closely watching on this alignment
of the committee. Your time is up.
Thank you. Chairperson, we support the budget vote.
Honorable Davis.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister and Deputy Minister, Honourable members of this House and guests in the gallery. Let me start by thanking every journalist who reports the news without fear or favour. Our democracy depends on each and every one of them. Let me also thank my colleagues on the Portfolio Committee, especially those from the majority party. Last year, during the Ellen Shabalala scandal, we showed that this Parliament could hold people to account. Despite their links to powerful politicians, and I think we can all be proud of this achievement. Our task now, as honourable members of this House, is to hold the Minister to account for her performance over the last year. And if we are honest, we will all agree that her performance has been a massive disappointment. I am sure, Honourable Chairperson, that nobody is more disappointed in the Minister's performance than the President. He wanted a new propaganda ministry to clean up his government's image, but all he got was more controversy. Just look at what's happened since we deliberated in this communications budget vote this time last year. We've had an SABC board chairperson resign because she was caught lying about her qualifications. But this was only after six damaging months of postponed hearings, court cases, and other delaying tactics. We've had an SABC Chief Operations Officer who has been shielded and promoted when the Public Protector said he should have been fired. All I can say to Claudi is that I hope he has been keeping an eye on the Vincent Mdunge case. Vincent Mdunge was sentenced yesterday to 5 years in prison for lying about his matric. Honourable Chairperson, we also have a government and communications and information system that is abused to promote the majority party. This includes the channeling of public money into the coffers of a government-friendly newspaper owned by the President's friends. And then, in a few weeks' time, Honourable Chairperson, on the 17th of June, we face humiliation on a global scale. Because on that day, we will miss the deadline set by the International Telecommunications Union to switch over from analogue to digital television. If Minister Muthambi had not spent the last year meddling with digital migration policy and waging an obsessive turf war to control the process, we would not be in the embarrassing position we now find ourselves in. It should concern all of us, Honourable Chairperson, that the Minister willfully misunderstands her role in relation to the SABC. She believes that the SABC is a state-owned company instead of an independent public broadcaster. She wants to take us back to the apartheid era, when the SABC was a tool in the hands of politicians instead of a resource belonging to the people of this country.
Order, honourable members. I think the dialogue is hot. You are really communicating. But can we allow the speaker to be heard? Order. Honourable member, you can proceed.
This is why the Minister thinks there is nothing wrong with unilaterally seizing the powers of the SABC board, even though this is in clear contravention of the Broadcasting Act. And it's why the Minister thinks it's okay to send independent SABC board members threatening letters, even when she has no power in law to appoint or remove them. In her budget speech last year, Minister Muthambi said that stabilising the SABC was at the very top of her agenda. I bet she regrets making that statement now. Because since then, no less than 3 SABC board members have resigned, while 3 others have been forcibly and illegally removed. As a result, the SABC board does not have a chairperson or a quorum to legally constitute meetings. Last year, the Minister also promised that a new Chief Executive Officer would be in place by the end of September. 9 months have passed and the post is still vacant. No wonder the SABC is in crisis, the scale of which we are only starting to see now. I hold in my hand internal SABC financial documents recently brought to light by the Sunday Times newspaper. They show that the SABC faces a projected loss of 501 million rand for the financial year just ended on March the 31st. According to SABC insiders, this loss is projected to double to 1 billion rand in the next financial year. So, Minister, the SABC is not on a sound financial footing, as you said in Parliament a few weeks ago. On the contrary, the SABC is facing financial ruin. Honourable Chairperson, we need to fix our public broadcaster as a matter of priority. But the only way to do that is to ensure that there is less political interference in the SABC and not more. In this regard, we call on the Speaker's Office to release the legal opinion on the removal of board members Hope Zinde, Rachel Kaladas and Ronnie Lubisi. Once we have this legal opinion, the Portfolio Committee can deal with the matter as we are mandated to do in the Broadcasting Act. As a committee, we need to work together to find the most qualified and independently minded candidates to take up positions on the board. And then they need to be left alone to do their jobs in the interests of the public we serve. These steps, Honourable Chairperson, will go some way to get the SABC back on track, but they won't fix all that is wrong with the Communications Department. Because the truth is, this department should never have been created in the first place. Honourable Chairperson, we live in the age of convergence, where traditional broadcasting is rapidly merging with new digital telecommunications technology. This is why it never made sense to create separate communications and telecommunications departments. As a result of this split, we have unnecessary duplication, inherent contradictions, and overall lack of policy coherence. Let me give just one example of this. On the 14th of November 2014, the Telecommunications Minister gazetted the National ICT discussion paper for public comment. An entire chapter of it is devoted to broadcasting. This includes regulation, language diversity, the funding and mandates of the SABC, and media diversity and development. Yet 2 days before this, no doubt in anticipation of the release of the ICT discussion paper, Minister Muthambi announced that she would be doing her own broadcasting policy review on precisely the same topics covered in the ICT discussion paper. What a waste of time, energy and resources. Honourable Chairperson, let's be honest. In his drive to create a propaganda machine, the President has created a mess. And the great irony is that he never got the propaganda machine that he wanted, because no ministry this dysfunctional could ever be referred to as a machine. So today, I would like to offer the President a reprieve. If he quietly scraps the Communications Ministry and goes back to the old converged department, we will never mention this failed experiment again. I thank you.
Honourable NDLOZI.
Thank you very
Order,
much,
honourable members.
Chairperson. The Economic Freedom Fighters rejects this budget vote, and we do so mainly for 3 reasons. We shall focus on these reasons, one of which carries both philosophical and material consequences on our democracy and constitution. And we think that really, a year later, Honorable dear Faith Muthambi, you must really advise the President to close this department. It has no job except to assault our democracy. The department is a combustion of unrelated entities. GCIS, which is about government communications, the promotion of some perceived good story about government, then the independent regulator, and the public broadcaster. This is a philosophical departure from what the Constitution anticipates about the regulator and the public broadcaster. The emphasis of independence that comes with the public broadcaster is that it imagines communication which is independent from government. In this idea of broadcasting are news or journalistic rights, films and music activities, which must attain a proper proximity distanced from power, or a healthy distance from those in power who are in charge with selling government stories, selling government agenda. To bring them together is a philosophical confusion. And ICASA is concerned most of the time with entities that are in telecommunications. In terms of its regulatory job, we can't see how is it located under the Honorable Faith Muthambi's communications propaganda machinery. In addition, we have called long ago for amendments that make it a Chapter 9 institution. Instead, there are other amendments being proposed here, as opposed to strengthening ICASA to be part of the Chapter 9 institutions and report directly to Parliament. The second crisis that comes with the creation of this department is an industrial policy confusion. How is it possible that our faith is the one responsible for digital terrestrial television and set-top boxes? You come here, you announce that millions of STBs will be distributed. Who manufactured them? Where are the factories that manufactured these STBs? Who were the workers? How many jobs have you created? How much will they be earning, these workers? You won't answer that. Because industrial policy is not located in your department. Industrial expansion is not located in your department. It is located in telecommunications, which is responsible for the overseeing of telecommunication industrial expansion. This is a demonstration that you have not understood or even worked for the advancement of the development of our productive forces and assist that we become self-sufficient in terms of the goods and services that we use in South Africa. DTT carried opportunities for the advancement of broadcasting capacities that will help with the dissemination of more content. But it also carried developmental possibilities. What a bunch of losers you have turned us to be. We have lost a huge opportunity for industrial development. You are announcing STBs. Who produced them? And they are clapping on the other side all the time, clapping. You know, you can't praise a fish for swimming. It's doing what it is supposed to do. We have no faith in you, Honorable Faith Muthambi, because really there is no basis for why your ministry exists.
Order, honorable members. Your time is up. I was asking other members. Order, honorable member, I will name the names. Can we please have Honorable van der Merwe?
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Minister Muthambi, and members of Parliament. As we reflect on the budget and the work of this new department and its entities, it is simply a case of the more things change, the more they stay the same. An industry that contributes billions to our economy most certainly does not deserve this kind of confusion that has come to mar the split of the former Communications Department into two new departments. But then again, South Africa does not deserve the turmoil which continues to surround the entire digital broadcasting or DTT process. Nor do we deserve the unrelenting cost to communicate. And nor does our young democracy deserve the threat of a state-controlled media tribunal. We need to learn from history. In 1977, our government shut down 2 newspapers for reflecting the apartheid regime in a bad light. That was Black Wednesday, and instead of owning up to its own leadership failures, the then apartheid government simply blamed the media for exposing it. Now fast forward to 2015, and we've seen signal jammers being brought to Parliament, and as the shameful flames of xenophobia engulfed our country, the Deputy Minister of Police launched a scathing attack on local media for their coverage of these attacks. President Zuma uttered similar sentiments. We are dangerously close to repeating history. Minister Muthambi, you are soon set to revive talks around a state-controlled media appeals tribunal. Let me tell you that the IFP will oppose such a move. The majority of South Africa's journalists are patriotic South Africans working hard to build our country, not to tear it down. Such a tribunal will only be a good idea if you had a North Korean Kim Jong-un style of approach to the media in mind. Understandably, the IFP's concern remains with the SABC. It is a monument to the disaster of cadre deployment. Drastic changes to the board has brought its functions under the direct control of the minister, and suddenly 3 board members are removed. But I'm not surprised by the latest stability. As a member of this committee during the 4th Parliament, I was part and parcel of appointing a number of SABC boards. And since 1994, the ANC in Parliament has handpicked every SABC board member and every SABC executive. Political interference has been built into the system and ruthlessly exploited. This is exactly why nobody applies to be an SABC board member anymore. I'm, however, surprised that the interference has come from a new minister who always spoke truth to power in the 4th Parliament and gave both the SABC and its executive a hard time. What has changed? Honourable Chair, I make the following observations. Why does Mr. Motsoeneng still enjoy wide political support, despite the Public Protector report, despite the fact that there is such low staff morale at the SABC, despite witch hunts, and the fact that the broadcaster is again facing financial difficulties? Is it correct to assume that Claudia Motsoeneng is still at work in defiance of a court-imposed 60-day suspension? For who else would have tried to pull the plug on the live TV coverage of the DA Congress? Why is it that the SABC, for example, attends to IFP events, yet nothing is shown on the main news channels? Is that not wasteful expenditure? And why then should IFP supporters contribute to SABC coffers through TV licenses if their voices are not represented? Honourable Chair, while the SABC is seen to be a state broadcaster, while it's seen to be a mouthpiece of the ANC only, and while it is not living up to its public mandate and it does not treat opposition parties fairly, we cannot support this budget vote. South Africans deserve a communications department and an SABC that executes its duties and spends its budget in line with its public mandate and in the interest of every South African. I thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister of Communications.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Minister Muthambi of the Department of Communications, Honourable Members, ladies and gentlemen, and the members of the media, Dumelang. It was 60 years ago when 50,000 brave volunteers went out into the great land from township to township, from city to city, countryside to countryside on a mission. Their mission was guided by a vision for a better tomorrow, a tomorrow where the African man, woman, and child would have equal rights and the ability to determine their own destiny, free from persecution and systemic oppression. Their mission was for the very soul of this nation. These volunteers talked to South Africans from all walks of life, gathering their freedom demands. Demand for equal rights, equal opportunities, equal access to land, to living wages, to fair labor, to education, to healthcare, to human dignity, and to human potential. These demands became the basis of the Freedom Charter. The Charter's opening demand went on to become a rallying point and a cry for South Africa's fight for her freedom, and remains the core principle of the ANC government's work to this day. That unifying cry, honourable ladies and gentlemen, is the people shall govern. Sihlalo ohloniphekile, usomqulu wamalungelo wazisa ukukwazi ukuthola ulwazi njengelungelo labantu eliqavile. Prior to 1994, we experienced a broadcasting environment which was state-controlled. State broadcasting services comprised of SABC, TBVC, and private services, which included Capital Radio 604 and Radio 702, as well as Radio Freedom on shortwave. Madam Chairperson, through the ANC-led government, today the public broadcaster has 18 radio stations, 3 television stations, a 24-hour news channel, and Encore channel. Mdula Stulo, allow me to pause for a moment and reflect on a period of which I am certain most of us assembled here have gone through. When I turned 21, I remember the words of wisdom of which my father gave to me, and I quote, "Lifikile ixesha lokuhlola impazamo, imposiso kunye nezinto eziqaqambileyo odlule kuzo ukuzothi ga ngoku, ntinga unqandwe zinkwenkwezi ntombam," I close quote. Ladies and gentlemen, 2015 marks 21 years of democracy under the ANC-led government. We acknowledge that whilst much has been achieved to redress the imbalances of the apartheid system, much more needs to be done. 21 years into our democratic dispensation, the ANC-led government is steadfast on this guiding principle that the people of South Africa govern. Honorable Chairperson, since our maiden budget vote in 2014, we have traveled the length and breadth of this country, engaging communities and the media fraternity at large on issues and the state of communications in our country and the issues that require our attention. Ladies and gentlemen, our people can only govern if they have access to information and provide feedback to government, if the poor have a voice, if independent, diverse and sustainable media is developed to foster long-term peace and stability. His Excellency President Zuma expressed a concern with the transformation of the print media industry, noting that ownership in the print media is still dominated by the Big Four, and only 14% of the mainstream print media is in black hands, of which women participation in boards and senior management is limited to only 4%. Fellow South Africans, we cannot rest until this situation is turned around. Robust engagements with media owners, Parliament and the public is necessary to successfully address the monopoly by media. Honorable members, through GCIS, we will commence the discussion and debate around transformation within a media environment by finalizing its draft discussion document titled Towards a Policy on Media Transformation and Diversity. Chairperson, like many sectors in the communication space, media has to have its own charter. In this regard, the department will approach Parliament to consider holding an inquiry on how the print media can develop its own media transformation charter. It is only through this process that we will be able to bring about transformation and change the tide in the print media. Chairperson, community media remains an integral part of our democracy and transformation on the ground. The ANC-led government remains resolute that community media must be supported, developed, and capacitated to deliver on their mandate. With over 200 licensed community radio stations and 5 TV stations, the sector has evolved. In this respect, it is worth celebrating the successes of the radio stations such as Radio Zibonele, a community radio station here in Khayelitsha, which is doing extremely well in terms of complying with its license obligations. In the same breath, we know the sterling work executed by Soweto TV, which currently attracts over 3.1 million viewers and employs over 100 people, of which 80% of are local young people. Indeed, siyakuba. Noting the challenges around skills development, governance, reliance on media brokers, and inadequate human resources, we will publish a community radio and television support strategy for public consultation in all 9 provinces. In addition, Chairperson, SABC and MDDA will support the community radio sector through the program production initiative, which will be targeting again young people. In partnership with Forcing, we are going to train unemployed youth, learners and teachers on online video editing software. Chairperson, we will also be engaging the campus radio stations across institutions of higher education in the country. Again, Chairperson, we're going to provide community radio stations with equipment and infrastructure. Mhlali ngaphambili, ukupapasha ngeqana sikuligxeke. Kukwakhubaza umkhitha wenkululeko yezendaba. Malungu abekekileyo ngokweqweqwe lwenkangeleko, imicelimingeni kuMzantsi Afrika ukuzama ukuqinisa amaqhele ekumanyeni isizwe esathi sazintsalu ngemibono. The recent judgments by the Press Ombudsman and the Appeals Panel led by Judge Mwabe against the Sunday Times, Daily Dispatch, City Press, and the many apologies published by these newspapers, including Business Day, confirm the deterioration of journalistic standards, continued non-compliance with the press code, and the ineffectiveness of self or co-regulation. the revelations of a document purported to be a Daily Dispatch news diary, which, if it is proven to be a Daily Dispatch internally document, shows and proves the well-reported media agenda against the ANC, and instead of it being media, they are playing oppositional party politics. Responsible journalism requires of our media to look at itself objectively. As for the government's responsibilities, regulations and guidelines must always serve the public interest. In moving South Africa forward, we will require extra efforts in the form of development communication that is deliberately targeted towards enhancing government communication work and transforming the relationship between the citizen and the state. In this respect, our Izimbizo have not only managed to increase public trust in government, but also help us to better understand the communication needs and issues of greatest importance to the public of South Africa. We are engaging with Parliament on the judiciary in creating space for framing of conversation needed to create a coherent long-term program for public participation about our respective roles. This approach sets the tone and founding steps in ensuring that by 2019, every South African has a clear understanding of what Parliament and the judiciary do. Our intentions are to create a new forum for public participation in various parliamentary debates and judiciary processes. In this regard, we therefore invited students from UCT and CPUT who are with us there. Shout out to all of you guys. Working together with the
Deputy
Office
Minister,
of the Speaker.
You have 1 minute left.
Honorable Chairperson, unlike the self-acclaimed prudent journalist Mr. Alistair Sparks, who idolizes Hendrik Verwoerd, who was a champion of crime against humanity, who presided over the hanging and torture of black people, a man who knew no race except white, uhili uphumile ezingcongolweni, ingcuka eyambethe ufele lwegusha idolile, sinibhekile. Chairperson, I am inspired by Tata Mandela, who said in 1994, freedom must be understood as the transformation of the lives of ordinary people in the hostels and the ghettos, in the squatter camps, on the farms and in the mine compounds. This is the freedom that the ANC-led government continues to strive to cultivate and nourish for the people of South Africa. A freedom for transformation, a freedom of equality and diversity, a freedom of consultation and participation, a freedom of expression, a freedom of working together to achieve more. Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The next speaker on our list is Honorable Ndongeni from the ANC. Again, members, we will alert all members when they have a minute remaining. Thank you very much.
Honorable Chairperson, Minister Faith Muthambi, Deputy Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Members of Parliament, Chairperson of the committee, our distinguished guest, I greet you all. Molweni apha egugulethu, molweni. The ANC government, as mandated by the 53rd Mangaung Conference, commit itself in continuing to mobilize the society entirely to build a caring society. We congratulate our president for prioritizing communications, which cuts across all departments to set up the stand-alone Department of Communication with the important mission of communicating with the public about government policies, plans, programs, and achievements. Honorable Chairperson, in fulfilling its mandate, the Department of Communication established entities such as Brand SA and Films and Publication Board. BSA overall mandate is to build South Africa nation brand reputation, to improve the country's global competitiveness. It also assists South Africans in building pride and patriotism amongst themselves. This is done as to promote the investment and tourism.
Just hold on. Can we hold on to her time? You want to raise a matter, Honourable Member?
Yes, Chairperson. One of the members there in the box behind the speaker is taking pictures. There's only also flashes going off there.
Can we repeat what was said by the House Chair? To all of us, by the way, not only our visitors. We are not expected to take pictures in this house. Please, let's stick to those rules. All of us, guests and members. Thank you very much for alerting us. You continue, Honourable Member. I hope that your time has not been chowed here.
This is done as to promote investment and tourism that result in job creation and poverty alleviation. The Department of Communication is resourcing BSA to be able to boost business confidence in South Africa and across the world. I therefore invite all South Africans to join the campaign within BSA. Play your part. We must also contribute to play our part in promoting the image of this beloved country. Together, we can do more. Honourable Chairperson, I can presently in front of this House that the impact of this nation branding by BSA has significantly increased between years 2012 and 2013. The ANC applauds BSA for the work done so far. Asimanga siyaqhuba. As a committee, we also noted the performance success of Brand SA, like successful partnership with various government departments, mobilizing citizens around Play Your Part campaign, Shape the Future, Your Youth Dialogue, successful hosting of media program at the World Economic Forum, successful launch of inaugural South African competitiveness. Really, South Africa is a country in action. We therefore appreciate the increase of 5.1%. Honourable Chairperson, the recent xenophobic attack on foreign nationals also had negative impact on the image of South Africa.
You have a minute remaining. Okay.
Brand South Africa is working hard to restore the image of South Africa through promotion of various campaigns, such as We Are Africa. Honourable Chairperson, the people of South Africa has a right to access information. The Department of Communication established a regulate board, which is Film and Publication Board. The board is mandated to regulate creation, production, processing of films, games, and some publication. It is done to protect both adults and children. The Films and Publication Board works closely with Home Affairs, SARS, SAPS, ICASA, and BCCSA as fully and effectively discharge its mandate. The ANC welcomes the budget as it will enable the board to do good work for conducting public awareness among South Africans. Honourable Person, in line with the 52nd Pulukwana Conference, we resolve the safeguard children and youth against negative effects.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The time is up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Esi sicwangciso mali samkelekile kukhongolose siyasixhasa ndiyabulela.
Honourable SHAIK IMAM from the NFP.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Ministers, Deputy Ministers, Honourable Members in the House, I want to start off by saying to the Honourable Minister and Deputy Minister and Honourable Members in the House, don't be deterred by what you hear. The easiest thing to do in the House is sit and criticize and be armchair critics. It's very easy to do that. And the purpose of criticizing is not to find solutions, but it is all about power and control, nothing but power and control. Honourable Chairperson, the newly established Department of Communication has an enormous challenge ahead of it, and we can expect that there will be teething problems as this department establishes itself. The budget of 1.2 million is not very well distributed. We believe that considering the importance of establishing and developing policies and legislation, that it will guide the department and the entities which report to it. Far more funds should have been invested in Programme 2, which facilitates research and development. These capacity and which ultimately will determine its success in the long term. By not investing sufficient capital in this program, now could well be a decision the department may come to regret in the future. The primary concern of the NFP regarding the oversight function of the department is the thorny issue of the public broadcaster. In many ways, Chairperson, the newly established department has inherited a political albatross that is going to hang around for years to come. We call on the department to act swiftly in this regard and address all challenges that may exist. Honourable Chairperson, but all is not doom and gloom. The NFP welcomes the proposed redirection of Brand South Africa focused to the domestic and continental spheres, South Africa and Africa as a whole. It is a wide field which is open and receptive to the branding of our country and what we have to offer. Honourable Chairpersons, we must admit that the department is facing challenges. But equally, we must acknowledge the good work being done by the department, especially in marketing South Africa abroad, promoting investments, economic growth, job creation and tourism. Honourable Chairperson, in light of this, the National Freedom Party supports this budget. Thank you.
Honourable Member Carter.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Broadcasting Act is the foundation for establishing the SABC as a public broadcaster. The Companies Act, therefore, has to be read together with the Broadcasting Act and not separately or independently. What is in each act requires careful balancing. For the Minister to assert that the Companies Act supersedes the Broadcasting Act is plainly and painfully wrong. COPE is certain that every court up to the Constitutional Court will reject the Minister's interpretation. If a Minister persists in claiming the powers that legislation and the Constitution does not confer on her, we will have to consider testing this in a court to bring about certainty. Things that the SABC leaves us unfounded and angry. Who in his or her right mind will want to serve on the SABC as things presently stand? I don't think anyone would want to. There's a perennial multi-level conflict going on in the SABC. It is a toxic atmosphere to work in with boardroom mechanisms and ever-present political interference. As the SABC loses credibility, South Africa and our democracy loses out. Who owns the SABC? All of us own the SABC, not the ANC. Who funds the SABC? The taxpayer funds the SABC, not the ANC. And then also, who pays the SABC's license fees? Citizens of South Africa does. If a ruling party seizes the SABC as its mouthpiece and turns it into a propaganda machine, as it is doing now, why should we pay for that? Why? The SABC board must represent the people in our diversity. It must own to us, the people. The SABC must identify with all of us so that we can identify ourselves with the SABC. The SABC has a fundamental role in providing accurate information. It must play a leading role in uplifting and transforming our society. But the ANC members on that side wouldn't want to listen because they do not want to uplift our society and our community. COPE wants the SAB to be unfettered so that it can become a centre of excellence, providing news, not creating it with ill behaviour of the members on that side. All those who lead the SABC must distinguish themselves as champions of democracy and of our Constitution. That is what our struggle heroes fought
just a minute, Member, just
and
a
died
minute.
for.
Sorry,
we need to
ma'am.
honour their sacrifices.
Colleagues and members, there's a difference between debating and closing a debater. Please, can we refrain from really making so much loud noise to an extent that we can't even hear what the speaker is saying? All of us, please. Continue, ma'am.
Thank you for your protection, Chair. We too must show true revolutionary credentials to achieve real transformation. We need to do so because of where we come from and where we are going. We also need revolutionary thinking because media is evolving at an alarming rate. All media
You
companies...
have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Chair. We also need an ironclad guarantee that the SABC cherishes freedom of expression and programming independence. Governing parties that erode this will inherit what they make. If they take away freedom today, they will lack freedom themselves when the tables are turned tomorrow, and that is soon to come. The Department must not only say that it is guided by Section 192 of the Constitution, it must show in every action that it provides for the genuine independence of broadcasting. COPE will not allow the ruling party to do to us what the apartheid government did to us. And to just quote Honourable Mandela, late President Mandela, if the ANC does to you what the apartheid government did to you, then you must do to the ANC what you have done to the apartheid government. I thank you.
By the way, the member who has just spoken is honourable member from COPE. We now call upon an ANC honourable member, Tseli.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson, Honourable Minister and Deputy Minister, Honourable Members, distinguished guests, Dimasiar. The ANC supports budget vote 3 of the Department of Communications. The Department of Communications and the entities reporting to it continue to play their supportive role in the realization of the government's strategic objectives as outlined in the National Development Plan. And I would like to largely focus on the work done by the SABC in that regard, contrary to what honourable members have said earlier on here, misleading this House. The South African Broadcasting Corporation of 2015 and beyond continues to successfully deliver on its mandate of educating, informing, and entertaining through the 5 television channels and the 19 radio stations. We are proud as the African Congress to have transformed it from being a monopolistic state propagandist into a modern public service broadcast that represents the aspirations of our people. The ANC would like to commend the SABC for the launch of the 2 new television channels, 24-hour news channel, including the recently launched SABC Anchor, which will broadcast the best of the SABC's 1980 and 1990 content, which took place last week as a result of the agreement it entered into with MultiChoice Africa. This is indeed a strategic move and a positive development as it responds to the ANC 53rd National Conference on the need for a long-term sustainability strategy in addition to government's funding, and it provides the broadcaster with an additional opportunity to ensure that its content is available on diverse platforms where other audiences are. However, we continue to be worried about the state of governance of the corporation and the instability of the boards in previous years, and call upon the shareholder to attend to these matters as a matter of urgency. The Broadcasting Amendment Bill, which is related to this area of work, will have to be fast-tracked in that regard. The SABC radio, on the other side, ensured the promotion and entrenchment of democracy through voter education, especially for those people who had never voted before. Radio continues to drive the development of homegrown artists and their music through extensive airplay, interviews, including in performance lineup at events and through music awards annual ceremonies conducted by various stations. It is worth noting that it has performed above ICASA's minimum requirement for South African music. In line with our task of social transformation, as stated in our strategy in Tactics of 2007, the SABC has made interventions to needy communities by donating 3 houses and a preschool in Limpopo and Mpumalanga in partnership with the J4 Joy Foundation. Indeed, this is a very good story to tell. In response to the Freedom Charter clause of the People Shall Govern, The SABC executives, led by the Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Muthambi, have undertaken roadshows in all the provinces during the period under review, where they met with stakeholders, including traditional leaders. Already it has made a cash investment of 530 million rand in sports, of which 450 million rand was paid for sports rights, which we are assured will increase every year following those visits. As the ANC, we appreciate and commend the SABC for the improvement in the management of their finances, contrary to what other honorable members said earlier on here, which led to then moving from an adverse audit opinion findings in the previous years to a qualified audit opinion. But however, a lot still need to be done to ensure that they get a qualified opinion in the next financial year. The balance sheet is relatively robust, with a net asset positioning of 1.9 billion rand. We support measures put in place to address the audit matters, like the review of the procurement strategy, dedicating resource on the findings of professional reports, and a strategy to track fruitless, wasteful, and irregular expenditure. Regarding skills development, the SABC has initiated a skills project that is targeting young people, particularly women and people with disabilities, which is aligned to the outcome of the National Development Plan. This project will go a long way in empowering the target group to enable them to participate in the production of local content, and is funded by the university on an annual basis. We appreciate the transformation measures introduced by the SABC under the capable leadership of the CEO that led to the appointment of 5 females, as the minister has reported. Thanks to the visionary leadership of the CEO, Mr. Mtsoengi, and the collective for turning the SABC around, making it a real independent public broadcaster that represents the aspirations of our people. Honorable Chairperson, for the public broadcaster to effectively deliver on his mandate, we call on our people to pay for their television licenses. Honorable Minister, if we can concretize and implement what we recommended, that there be a forum of entities reporting to the department, surely will definitely go a long way. We will have to call upon the shareholder to ensure that we intensify our oversight over the entities to ensure they execute their mandates and meet their government targets. The ANC supports the budget vote. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Honorable Mbinda from the PAC.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, kunye nama Africa ngokubanzi. The Department of Communications is supposed to provide society with balanced information that assists the nation to make up its mind. As the PAC, we view this department as not understanding its own mandate. Its mandate is not just limited to be current government's mouthpiece, but it is supposed to be national mouthpiece. Therefore, the quality of personnel that man its agents are very critical to the success of this nation and brand South Africa. GCIS has not taken its position as the primary conveyor of national information. Critical documents like a public protector's report, Auditor General's report remain accessible to the elite only. They have not been accessible to the society as a whole because GCIS only wants to give good news. It does not want to give the whole news. It's English, not Xhosa. I'm a Xhosa speaking. It has become a propaganda machine rather than providing access to information. The public broadcaster, SABC, is failing the people, selling what was paid for by the public at a very low premium. The PAC believes that the content of the SABC is more Western in its orientation, dominated by Westernization. The only thing African are the actors and locations. The SABC promised to beef up its programs to be more local, with African content, conveying family values and African agenda. The community radio stations have done a sterling job in bringing vibrancy to the community to share their own stories. Nevertheless, we are concerned about the funding model. We cannot realistically expect high-quality production without state assisting the community radio stations. But this should be done in a manner that does not force them to suck up to the governments of the day. The funding should be a right rather than a privilege. Private broadcasters, with the digital technology present, it gives us a greater spectrum for new players to come on board. We call on the department to open greater access to more players in terms of broadcasting and to reduce the barriers of entry to the industry. That will diversify the voices that are available in our social discourse and provide a space for young artists to express themselves. The much talked about deal between SABC and MultiChoice is also of concern to the PAC. We just see this as another way for MultiChoice to have monopoly and therefore control what we see, when we see, and who sees it. The SABC will no longer cater for the South African viewer, but it will have to cater for the STV audience. As the PAC, we are concerned that the department keeps on changing its mind on the hardware and software standards, which
Honourable Member, 1 minute remaining.
Not to be competitive. And as the PAC, we are calling that those set-top boxes should be made in Africa, not outside Africa, because of the amount of budget that will be spent on project and also because of the amount of future technology, skills that we must preserve. If it was my choice, I will only support the budget for radio communities, not for SABC, because SABC is suppressing opposition parties. It is just a mouthpiece of the ruling party. IMAM.
The next speaker is Honourable Kekana from the African National Congress.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable Minister, Muthambi, Honourable Deputy Minister, Mendaveni Abrahams, Honourable Members, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, Lochani. Chairperson, we continue to note the efforts of ICASA in helping government in reducing the cost of doing business in South Africa for economic development and job creation purposes. In promoting the digital agenda, we expect ICASA to accelerate its focus on creating an environment conducive to universal broadband provision and digital broadcasting services. ICASA's efforts to contribute to media diversity and its transformation should be encouraged. The licensing of new commercial broadcasters should continue as planned, so that the reality of plenty of channels due to digital migration should be realized and BEE principles are observed during this licensing process. Minister, the ANC is encouraged by the work synergies that are beginning to emerge between MDDA, ICASA, SANTAC, GCIS, and the Department of Communication in supporting community media and addressing the related challenges. For the past 2 years, these institutions have been going across the 9 provinces, addressing the concerns and challenges facing the community media sector. The second decade of existence of the MDDA has started with exciting developments in the media industry. The sector is at the advent of the switch over from analog to digital. A review of the Electronic Communication Act is underway. The MDDA, therefore, must be more active in the sector, playing a stronger lobbying and advocacy role on the many issues facing the community sector. The MDDA continues to be the largest contributor, enabling access to, control of, and management of the sector by historically disadvantaged individuals. The last decade saw the MDDA change the media landscape quite considerably. Of the estimated 207 community radio in existence, 135 were, and some 84 still are funded by the MDDA. More than ever before, all the languages of South Africa are being actively used to communicate to and engage with communities. The MDDA has invested significantly in the purchase of world-class radio equipment, enabling quality productions. With less than 10 years having passed since first one-year license was granted in South Africa to a community TV station, this sector has grown into a resilient industry. The MDDA has supported 4 stations, of which 2 are still being supported. Similarly, the community and small commercial print sector has grown significantly in recent years, with South Africa now boasting more than 200 small publishers, a large proportion of which are published in an indigenous language. The MDDA has funded into some 53 community print projects, with 26 of these currently being funded, and 93 commercial print projects, with 31 still being funded. The community landscape can be largely attributed to this investment made by the MDDA. Chairperson, it is also true that the MDDA also faces formidable challenges. It has not been sufficiently proactive in certain areas in responding to the fast-paced changes in the media and broadcasting landscape. This has impacted negatively on the MDDA's ability to lead the discussions on and champion the necessary for the sector. The organization has also experienced some instability with the change in internal leadership and management. The MDDA recognizes and has taken ownership of these challenges. And as a result, the organization is still gaining momentum in regaining its position as a leader for change and innovation in the sector. The ANC welcomes the efforts by the Portfolio Committee on Communications that has continuously tried to fill the vacancies at the board of the Media Development and Diversity Agency. We reiterate the importance of integrity,
1 minute remaining, honourable member,
nurturing and safeguarding of the MDDA that has been facing staff and board exodus. Now that the board of MDDA will curate, we encourage them to speedily allocate the much-needed funding to the community media, especially on their equipment infrastructure and operational capital that has assisted many of them to stay afloat. Let it be that what occurred over the last few months at MDDA does not happen again. But we are happy that the representatives of the industry have forwarded their names for the board to begin operating once officially appointed. Minister, I also want to congratulate the management of the SABC, led by COO Claudi Mutwening, and the board for launching the entertainment channel.
Your time is up.
SABC Inco, and with the healthy capital status. I am appealing to South Africans to pay TV license. Inco, siyathokoza.
The next speaker is Honourable Van Wyk from the DA. Van Dijk, sorry, from the DA.
Agbare voorsitter, lede van die huis. Media-entiteite se grootste probleem is menslike hulpbronne. Volgens Brand SA dra die inligting en kommunikasiesektor 8.2% by tot die BBP. SA Kommunikasie sleer egter in terme van duidelike beleidsontwikkeling en digitale migrasie. Hoekom? Behalwe 7 ministers in 6 jaar sal besluite deur minister Muthambi haar mediaopleiding teen R12.000 per sessie ten spyte definitief hierdie koers afwaarts dwing. Integrasie of media samesmelting vorm die kern van die digitale media revolusie en vereis dat die kommunikasie en telekommunikasiekomitees wetgewing deel en moet saamwerk. Die verdeling belemmer produktiwiteit en gaan 'n ekstra geprojekteerde R735 miljoen oor 2 jaar kos. Die Film- en Publikasieraad is onder druk om aanvaarbare regulasies in plek te kry rondom internet en selfone, met right to know wat in hulle nekke blaas, mediavryheid verder onder druk. Terwyl die regering in ontkenning is rondom Eskom, dienslewering, betoging, xenofobia en ook die krisis waarin die SA ekonomie is dit te betwyfel of Brand SA met hierdie negativiteite en streng visa-regulasies hul 60% buitelandse toerisme-mark sal kan herbou, selfs al spandeer hulle ook soos die Noord-Kaap Premierskantoor 6 miljoen aan die New Age Gupta Koerant om 'n mislukte 70% goeie stories veldtog te dryf. Probleme in entiteite herlei na 'n gemeene deler, menslike hulpbronne. Vakatures, veral op senior vlak, lei tot onstabiliteit. Kundigheid en goeie bestuurspraktyke word ingeboet, veral op finansiële terrein. Posisies neem lank om te vul en voortdurende advertentiekostes is duur. Prestasieooreenkomste word nie geteken nie, dis is daar geen verantwoordbaarheid nie. Projekteikens word nie bereik nie en die meeste doelwitte is nie meetbaar nie. Daar is 'n toename in vrugtelose en verkwistende uitgawes. Gebrekkige opleiding, monitering ontbreek. En die belangrikste, daar is geen gevolge vir nie prestering nie, selfs nie vir die minister nie, blyk dit. Sedert 2007 het die SAIK 8 hoofuitvoerende beamptes gehad. Die onlangse OG-verslag fokus veral op die SAIK met verwysing na konsultante. Dis 'n refleksie op interne personeel se onbevoegdheid. UKOSA het byvoorbeeld 9 miljoen aan personeelbonusse betaal en 26,9 miljoen aan konsultante. Die effek van kaderontplooiing is verder duidelik, verwys Chabalala en Motsoeneng. Laasgenoemde is 'n sommeklop nêrens en illustreer hoekom dit belangrik is om gekwalifiseerde persone in sleutelposisies van 'n maatskappy te plaas en swart bemagtiging nie net tot voordeel van 'n selektiewe groep ANC-kaders behoort te wees nie. Begrotingbeperkings in ag genome verdien die Media Diversiteit Ontwikkelingsagentskap steun vir suksesvolle gemeenskap media projekte. Kommerwekkend is dat al 2013-14 jaarverslag laat was ten spyte van 'n skoon auditverslag. Met die hoogste vakatures onlangs 28,1% of 13 uit 24 poste, verifieer personeel skrywers interne probleme. Die auditfunksie moet uitkontrakteer word en die raad sonder quorum, soos die SAIK, ervaar operasionele probleme. Slegs 31% prestasieteikens is bereik. Oorsigkomitees funksioneer nie doeltreffend nie. Slegs 30% projekte is gemonitor. Befondste programme het afgeneem, asook opleidingsprojekte en soortgelyke probleme word deursnee in al die ander media-entiteite ervaar. Net 46% van die SA-bevolking het internettoegang. My distrik bylae van GCIS met 'n databasis van 10,000 gaan dus verlore vir die teikenmark. Slegs 1,4 miljoen kopieë van die regeringskoerant Vuk'uzenzele word per maand gedruk vir 52 miljoen landsburgers om te deel. Kommunikasie na gemeenskappe is nie doeltreffend nie. Beplanning en assessering bly agterweë en dis deel van personeelfunksies. Gemeenskapradio bereik tans net 25% van gehore. SAIK radiostasies 80%. Die DA bevraagteken die gebrek aan taaldiversiteit. Nasionale uitsenders, SAFM en Radio 2000, is beide in Engels en behoort in inheemse taal te akkommodeer. Die SAIK-tendens beperk inheemse tale en bevoordeel Engels.
Yeah, 1 minute, honorable member.
Dis strydig met uitsaai wetgewing. MDOA neem met kommer waar dit selfs gemeenskapmedia vir Engels. Hoe vervul UKOSA, wat nie 'n verbruikersadviespaneel in plek het nie, met 59% prestasiedoelwitte nie bereik nie, hul rol in hierdie verband. Dat 80% van UKOSA se personeel hande opgesteek het tydens 'n onlangse oorsigkomitee besoek op die vraag wie van hulle die afgelope maande aan gedink het om te bedank, behoort rooi ligte hier ook te laat flikker. Entiteite moet die oorsprong van probleme aanspreek en eerder belê in doeltreffende menslike hulpbronne. Menslike kapitaal vorm die kern van die ekonomie. Dankie.
And now I call upon Honorable Member Tsotetsi from the African National Congress.
Okay. Kuhlompile umdulastulo, Minister, le Deputy Minister, maloko a Parlamente ka kakaretso le baeti ba rona le media e leng teng kwano. Chairperson, I would like to start by announcing that ANC supports the budget, This budget will ensure capacity is nurtured in order for GCIS to increase its pace in dissemination of information in relation to government business. Sesotho siri, setjhaba se senang tsebo se a timela. We say knowledge is power, and the ANC-led government will always exhaust all avenues.
Can you come this side so that you speak to the mic? Thank you.
We say knowledge is power, and the ANC-led government will always exhaust all avenues to empower people with skills and knowledge, and of course, strategies to utilize this knowledge. GCIS has produced a journal, namely Vukuzenzele, which includes adverts for jobs. Jobs for All and not a Job Reservation Act, which discriminated against black people deliberately, creating tension between black people, colors, and Indians, divide and rule that ensured white supremacy. However, we are going to be consistent with the Freedom Charter and ensure that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. We believe two wrongs do not make a right. As we talk service delivery by GCIS, and of course service delivery in general, let us remind the people of South Africa that we are dealing with a mess which was done over more than 100 years, and any normal thinking person will tell you it is practically impossible to undo the mess in only 20 years. Whereas the manufacturers of the mess seem not prepared to cooperate with ANC government in cleaning the mess. They keep on changing strategies, pretending to be born-again Christians, but their actions are the opposite of what they preach. Baeso re tseba South Africa e sentse ka dilemo tse ngata tse fetang tse lekgolo, ka hoo ha o bonolo ho lokisa ka dilengwana tse 20. Empa le lokolohile ho ipilaetsa mo le bonang e ka re a kgesemela. Mmuso o le kgethetseng wa re dumella ka ha e le mmuso wa setjhaba ka setjhaba. The ANC holds that in the context of the National Democratic Revolution, NDR, the media should contribute to the transformation of our country, building social cohesion and promoting values of a caring society, an essential part of the battle of ideas, and must underpin and inform the manner in which the media operates. The accountability and fairness of reporting are central to the gains of the NDR. Communication is central to the implementation of all the policy priorities of the ANC government. All programs need to be communicated and need platform of communication. GCIS should be in charge of all communication channels and platforms in all government departments and across all spheres of government in order to coordinate information flow to the public. In view of the advent of digitization and new media, government needs to investigate possible options of unmediated government communication systems. The new opportunities provide a paradigm shift in government communications. The GCIS mandate has been, since its establishment, to serve as a central communication agency of a relatively new democratic government, leading to the reconstruction and development of post-apartheid South Africa. A government communication system that mobilizes the nation behind the National Development Plan showcases progress and invites South Africans to work together to address challenges is critical to the achievement of Vision 2030. This is an organization responsible for informing all citizens of our country about what government is doing for them and how they can participate in the governance and consolidating our democracy. GCIS has had its share of challenges, but timeless interventions have resulted in achievement of the desired positive outcomes. The transformation of the establishment of GCIS is still a work in progress. The advances made so far in fostering a stable communication framework have demonstrated the determination to succeed in future. GCIS has the task of ensuring that the strategic imperative report is fully implemented, but some of the programs were not fully funded. This is ongoing to establish how these programs could be fully funded. Government communication takes place largely at 3 levels: print media, broadcasting, and face-to-face engagement with citizens through programs such as the MBUYISENI and various public participation platforms. Going forward, what has informed the department strategy plans are governance challenges of state-owned entities, the delayed digital migration project, and inadequate communication of government programs and plans. The department was actively involved in making communication recommendations in the National School Nutrition Program, repatriation of mortal remains of the Nigeria building collapse in Lagos, Operation Pakisa, and nuclear energy, to name a few. The department produced comprehensive cluster research reports to guide planning and inform communication strategies of government communication clusters. They were made available biannually and address key cluster-specific outcomes. Communication research advice and support was provided to various government role players through tracker and national qualitative research buy-in. 93 research advisory reports for various national departments and premise offices were produced. Chairperson, let me seize the opportunity to talk just briefly about the prophetic words of Lester Fenter in his book titled When Mandela Goes. The National Party, DA if you like, will retain a core support from whites who have grown accustomed of politics without morality, who believe that the National Party should be chosen as a sensible alternative to the ANC once voters sober up from the intoxicating emotionalism of black liberation. The party itself entertains delusion, notions of attracting mass black support, perhaps even under a charismatic black leader once ANC policies are perceived to be failed. But while apartheid remains a living memory, nothing of the sort will happen. No persons of distinction or credibility in black society could join the National Party and retain their status. Please notice the name change from National Party to DA. Workers will tell you change color of the bus.
Hold on, Mama. Point of order.
Chairperson, I rise on a point of order. On the point 43, Rule 43, it is offensive language. The Democratic Alliance takes it as offensive, being referred to as the National Party. And the member should note that the National Party members that were in this House now sit in the ANC benches, Chairperson.
Chairperson, I'm quoting from the book that was not written by the ANC, neither by myself. No persons of distinction or credibility in black society could join the NP and retain their status. Please notice the name change from National Party to that one. Workers will tell you change color of the bus, but the same driver, same destination. Yes, it is happening just here under our nose. Some of them were saying the black government over my dead body. Not a dream, but we are indeed under the rule of a black government which embraces the Bill of Rights for all in the country. And non-racialism, a democratic South Africa, not over their dead bodies, but over their living bodies, and we are here to stay. GCIS has produced a journal, NDONGENI, which plays a major role in dissemination of information. It excels by also putting job adverts in addition to daily government's business. NDONGENI also reaches 2 song centers in rural areas. This is inconsistent with rural development as one of government's priorities. During the current budget vote speeches, the media has been covering the events.
You have a minute remaining, Honourable Member.
Okay. And Tate Claudi Mutshweneng and your team, ikare o ka khutlisa pale ele ya moramonatong. A re tla fumana motho a rwele hloho ile kima ile kana. Kanti boko ba hae ha bo felele ka hara teaspoon. Lemong tsena tse re di badileng tse 20 ha ona ntho re ka etsang ka potlako e bana hana re ka etsa ka yona. Se nka se etsang ku dumelana le mantswe a reng re a pele re a qhoba ha o tjha o tjhetjhe. Minister Davis, the journalists are reporting fair and square as they report negatively about the ANC, but if they talk about the DA, that's when we think they're being fair. And many a times, corruption by DA has been echoed in this parliament. It is not Honourable Davis who dealt with the case of, not Honourable, but Mrs. Shabalala, but the Communications Committee as a collective under the good leadership of Honourable Joyce Mule Moropa. Well done, Chairperson. Honourable Muthambi has never been a privileged participant under the apartheid era, as you claim, but you are a direct product of that era, and it doesn't look like anytime soon you will change or repent. When people fail to get what they want in the community,
your time is up, Honourable Member.
They wait for the crowd and say all these things. We support the.
Honourable members, the allocated time for the response by the minister was 5 minutes, but she only used 22 minutes of her initial input. Therefore, she has 8 minutes. Minister, your response to the debate.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson. I'll start maybe for the first time to also welcome the contribution made by the National Freedom Party. We agree with the views expressed by the National Freedom Party. We want more of the parties like NFP in this parliament. They are playing their part in taking the country forward. On that note also, let me advise you, honorable member on my left, with the exception of the chairperson, to say that the DOC, the department, will continue to take bold decisions to ensure that government message is communicated to empower the citizen, in particular here the poor, without fear or favor. On the issue raised by the Shadow Minister, Honorable Davis, with regard to the TNA allegations, government is not going to apologize for supporting media diversity and transformation by directing its advertising to media that speaks to its majority of South Africans who are currently not served by the established media. So we're not going to apologize on that. And then the advertising support has ensured that the sustainability of 200 community radio stations and these other small print media, allowing these important channels to ensure that communities are well informed about the work of government and are participating in our democracy. Honorable Davis, the GCIS has released figures showing that media spend is fair across all media platforms. It is a total fabrication that more money is spent on the new age. On the other note, the SABC will continue its role as a public broadcaster, and our role is to champion that role. We have a responsibility to oversee that the SABC is stable. You also agree SABC vacancies are being carefully considered. We have reported that for the first time, the SABC in its history has recorded the appointment of female executives. And then you are saying nothing about it. On the new department, the president did not say that he's establishing a propaganda department. I urge you to get your facts right and read the proclamation. We have also submitted the strike plans and APP to the portfolio committee, and we've cleared what is the purpose of this department. The purpose of this department may be, I have to repeat for the benefit of other members who are not members of the portfolio committee, like Honorable LIEZL, MERWE. The purpose of this new department is to empower our people. And I know it will never suit the DA. And then we don't expect the DA to understand it in that respect. And then I want to also emphasize that the issue of the digital migration is on track for the first time in many years. This thing isn't started on my appointment as a minister in 2014. We have been seated with this matter since 2001. So, and then I will say for the first time in many years, our people will soon reap the fruit of this progress. Yes, there were delays, but there is good progress that you are all refusing to acknowledge. And you have made it to that effect. With regard to my learned colleague, Honorable NDONGENI, there is no philosophical confusion here. We'll use all our entities under our watch to empower our people. It is a matter that is not negotiable, Honorable NDONGENI. And then the other thing, government is not indivisible. There is nothing wrong with cross-cutting responsibilities to empower our people. The question of production of set-top boxes, you'll agree with me that that was a public tender, which was open and transparent, which USASA is dealing with. And then, with regard to my former colleague in the portfolio committee, Honorable MERWE, I see you are not a member of that committee anymore. And then I want to say to you the agenda is to carry forward what we left as the fourth administration. This is what I'm doing now. I'm implementing that agenda which me and you set while we were at the portfolio committee. And then I also want to address you, Honorable van der Merwe, with regard to the issue of the dialogue on how media can be regulated. And when you are saying that you are putting a myth that a dialogue on how media can be regulated is an assault to media freedom. It's not only the ANC that participated in the press commission. Everybody participated in that, and there are reports, there are recommendations of the press commission that need to be implemented. It's a pity, it's this portfolio together with the portfolio committee on commission that must implement the recommendation of the press commission. Then, on the issue of the SABC, because people seem to be so obsessed with the SABC. The SABC is not a mouthpiece. It's not the mouthpiece of the ANC. It has proved. The SAB is not a mouthpiece of the ANC. It has proved many times.
Sorry, Honourable Minister. Colleagues, again, can we repeat? We can indeed interject, but let's not interject in a manner that makes all of us not to hear the speaker, please.
I was still on the point that, Chairperson, the SAB is not a mouthpiece of the ANC. It has proved many times that it is a platform for all South Africans, including opposition, that has nothing positive to say. You see, it has proven that it has got it's inclusive in that it also includes yourself as opposition that has got nothing to say about the country, including the ANC itself. But to receive more coverage, honorable members, I want to advise you.
1 minute, Honourable Minister.
You must win. You must win more elections, then get more votes. Then it's simple. Then you'll be able to have more coverage. With regard to the issue raised by COPE, the recent viewership figures shows increased credibility amongst our people.
Honourable
Numbers
Chairperson.
don't lie, so please
Minister,
your scripts.
just hold, Minister. On what?
No, Chair. I just wanted, through you, to ask the Minister, because I appreciate the top she's wearing, as to where did she get it?
What are you raising on, Honourable NDLOZI?
Maybe she can tell me to go buy the same top. It's very...
Honourable NDLOZI, can you sit down? Thank you very much. Honourable Member Carter, what are you rising on?
Yeah, Honourable Chair, is the Minister prepared to take a question?
I'm coming to you, Honourable Carter.
But she's closing the debate, so let's allow her to close the debate. But at any rate, let's ask her, are you prepared to take a question, Minister?
No, I'm closing the debate. Thank you.
Continue, Honourable Minister.
Honourable Carter, I'm not here to make a legal submission. That includes Honourable Davis. Safe to say that the SABC is governed by the following legal instruments, namely the Companies Act, Broadcasting Act, the Memorandum of Incorporation as registered by the former Minister Pule, and the Board Charter. And then, Honourable NDLOZI, your argument on industrialization is misplaced. We look beyond policy making to ensure that we create industries that support our national industrial policy. The process to acquire set-top box, like I've indicated, it's going to happen from local supplier. And then you'll see, for your information, we've got more than 20 local suppliers that have responded to the RFP issued by USASA. And then with regard to the issues raised by the DA, I think also Honourable van der Merwe, in 2009, the cash and cash equivalents of the SABC were then 15 million.
Just round out, Minister.
Then 15 million. So for now, as we speak, it's 1.20 billion. And then the issue that document that Honourable Davis is referring to, it's a sign that he's busy meddling with the SABC because you know how you got it, unethical. And then illegally so. You accuse us of meddling, and it's you who's causing the problems in the SABC. You are meddling with the affairs of the SABC. Honorable Chairperson, I hereby commend the DOC budget vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Colleagues and honorable members, including our guests in the gallery, we have two debates that will be resuming now. The debate on sports and recreation budget vote will be here in this house. And the debate on small business development will be in the National Assembly. They are all resuming now, 17 hours. That concludes this debate, and the business of this extended public committee is adjourned. Thank you very much.
All right, well, we've just seen the Communications Department table their budget vote, and we'll now cross back live to Parliament, and this time it's Sports Minister Fikile Mbalula who's tabling a vote for his budget.
What time is it? It's question time.
Is there enough political will? Perhaps we should ask the question whether is there enough technical will